How do you get yourself to do something? Today's story is about that. So I'm going to start with flossing my teeth. When I was a younger man, probably in my 20s, I would go to the dentist and they always ask you when you go to the dentist, do you brush your teeth every day? And I'd be like, yeah, I do. I learned the habit of brush my teeth, which is great. And it's pretty common for everybody to brush their teeth. And then they would ask me like, do you floss every day? And I would say, no, I don't floss every day. And then they would inevitably say, well, you should try to floss every day. So one time, years and years and years later, I was probably in my 30s by this time, I went to the dentist and the same thing happened. And I turned, I think it was actually the hygienist, and I stopped and I said, okay, hey, can you make me promise you that I will start flossing every day? And the hygienist looked at me and was like, what do you want me to do? I said, can you make me promise you that I will floss every day? And he went, okay, promise me you will floss every day. And I said, I promise you I'm going to floss every single day. And he went, great. And then he cleaned my teeth. So 6 months later, I had flossed every single day. And I went back to the hygienist and he asked me the question, do you brush your teeth every day? I said, yes. And then he said, do you floss every day? And I looked at him and I said, yes, I do. And he goes, great. And I said, and it's all because you made me promise you that I would. He goes, oh, okay. He didn't even remember. So the reason I was able to start flossing every day is because even though I wasn't a regular flosser, I was a promise keeper. So once I had him make me promise him, then I flossed every day because I wanted to keep my promise. Also, it was a public promise. So oftentimes if you want to develop a habit, you have to frame it in a way where you are committing to it. You also need to make it public so that you are beholden to other people in community. So I had told my wife that I was going to start flossing every day, and I had told the hygienist, and so I was beholden to them. That is how I established that habit. Now, an interesting story similar to this is I have a friend who's actually a former student. His name is Jake. And Jake and I we still hang out today, and we're still good friends. So Jake and I became close because he was in my class as a 7th grader. But then in high school, he would come back and volunteer. I had this whole group of students in high school who would come back and volunteer in the morning and work with 7th grade students in my class. And so he was coming back, and sometimes after school also. So he was coming back after school at that time, and he was helping a kid. They were actually working on a rap because I was like, this kid needs to do something, like let's do it through a rap. And so Jake and the kid were writing raps. And then Jake actually wrote this rap. He was a senior in high school, and I read the rap, and I was like, man, that is really, really good, Jake. And he's like, oh, really? I've never written a rap before. And what's interesting about this is Jake actually became a professional rapper later on. And I don't know if it started with that experience. That's super fun. But that's a whole nother story. This story is about a time when Jake was in my classroom after school, helping a student, and he was drawing on a desk. And I'm like, Jake, you are a senior in high school helping students in my class, and you're drawing on the desk. I was like, Jake, what are you doing? And he goes, what? Oh, I'm just drawing on the desk. It's something I do. And I'm like, it's something you do? I was like, who do you think cleans that desk? He's like, I don't know. I've never thought about that. And I go, well, I'm the one who cleans that desk. So that something you do is actually causing hurt for other people. And he goes, oh, I'm so sorry. It's just something I do. Like, I didn't realize that. And I go, well, do you want to stop doing that something you do because it's hurting other people? And he's like, yeah, I do. I said, okay, here's what you do. Make you promise me that you won't draw on desks anymore. And he goes, what? I said, make you promise me that you won't draw on any desks anymore. And he goes, okay. Mr. Yokola, can you make me promise you that I won't draw on desks anymore? I go, Jake, will you promise me that you won't draw on desks anymore? And Jake looks up at me and he goes, I promise you, Mr. Yokola, I will not draw on desks anymore. And I go, great. So fast forward a few months, Jake is in my classroom helping a student. I go up to Jake and I go, Jake, are you still drawing on desks? And he goes, no, Mr. Yokola, I don't draw on desks anymore because I promised you. And I go, that's awesome because you are making it possible for other people not to have to clean up after you. I appreciate that promise, and other people do as well. And he had this big smile on his face, and he was so happy because he doesn't like to hurt people. So again, if you want to develop a habit, you got to understand how human beings work. 1, you got to commit to it. 2, you got to understand what makes you keep commitments. So for me, I'm a promise keeper. Jake is a promise keeper. Once he makes the promise, he's much more likely to do it. Just saying, oh, I'm going to do it, probably won't happen. 3, make it public. Do it in community so that you're beholden to other people and you're much more likely to keep that habit. Think of a habit you'd like to develop now. And how could you do these steps? Maybe you could promise a teacher, maybe you could promise a friend, maybe you could promise a family member that you're going to do this, and then you have some accountability where they're checking in with you to make sure that you're doing it. Have a great day.